Hello and welcome to the DFS underscore PhD show for this evergreen video that's about the satellite strategy and basic terms for DFS. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us. So that's my general take on things, and this is just a little bit about DFS in general. You see contest types over here. I'm always talking about tournaments, specifically pretty big tournaments. Also satellites. So when I talk about the satellite strategy, these are these satellites and qualifiers where there's a ticket up top, and more importantly, a lot of the times these things don't fill. Now, oh man, this is really filling pretty well today. I was thinking maybe I'd get a little to poach a few of these chances at a live final ticket, but it looks like that's going to fill just like the 8-8. So I'm filming this on a big day for my own satellite strategy. So I'll talk about that more in a second. But first, I wanted to talk about people say cash, people say GPPs. What does that mean? Well, cash is these head-to-heads, these double ups where basically you're trying to beat one other guy or trying to beat on average one other guy. And so I don't ever play these. I just because it's not really what you find out about a slate anyway, right? Like you don't find out what the best lineup was. That's not what happens over the course of a slate. You like find out who wins today, but that's fun for different reasons. And I don't really care to beat anybody on average like that. I don't care to beat a specific guy a bunch of times. That just doesn't sit right with me. I don't, I am also starting a responsible gambling startup. So of course it's not going to sit right with me to beat the same guy a bunch. I don't want to just beat you all the time. And that's why I make videos too. Like I think it's fine for you all to know the right strategy, even on these biggest days for me. Like this is the biggest contest and the most exposure I've ever had to a single contest. I still made the video today. I still got to put my exposures in the Discord because who cares? There's like it's innumerate to care about the other entries in a classic competition. There are too many people who are like too many options today to think that, oh man, if I give away that I'm going to play a third whatever guy, or I might play a bunch of Giannis. Oh, wow. Okay. Like, I mean, that tells you what one guy who's not even that good of a guy is going to do. But anyway, so we've got cash, we've got double ups, overlay. So when I'm talking about the satellite strategy, I'm talking about overlay. I mean, what's the total amount of money? So that's easier to see probably if you go to the NFL, to the Madden sims. Yeah, to the Madden, maybe Madden Showdown for coming up. So for these Madden showdowns coming up, entry fee, let's do it from the bottom. These ones never ever fill, never even close. This one's starting in an hour. It's 1/5 of the way there. It'll get a third of the way there by the time we start. I'm already, doing two of these and I'm maxing out my chances for a $20 ticket in every single Madden competition because I like to play. So at the end of the day, you wind up with an assortment of tickets, which I like to click on. I like to brag as long as we got the Tournament of Champions semifinal ticket. It's a pretty cool one. But the general point is, as you do the satellite strategy, which I should just talk about more, you wind up at this page. But first of all, let me do my spiel about the satellite strategy for a second. So first of all, I learned about it from Brian Jesters, who I have to give a shout out. I don't give this guy enough of a shout out, given that more or less like why I am a profitable DFS player is because of, I think I got a free ultimate guide one time, and in the ultimate guide, he had talked pretty at length about the satellite strategy. There are a bunch of other guys who do this as well, though, and I just want to teach it to you because it's important. This is how, like, when you play a normal GPP, aka a guaranteed player prize pool, that's these big ones like the $100,000 up top NBA game or the $1 million $20 an entry NFL one, where DraftKings says, "Hey, I'm going to for sure run this competition this week, and I'm putting this much money behind it. Do you want to join it?" That's a GPP, and so you're going to lose because DraftKings is running those for a reason. They're running them for the rake. The rake is about 18% on a standard GPP, and important for high rollers. If you're rich out there, play the big money competitions because the rake is lower. Sometimes as low as 8%, but like for today for this 888, it's 11%. That is dope, man. That means my expected value is losing 11%. So even though I'm uncomfortable having $5,400 on the line, I'm more comfortable than ever because normally I would expect to lose 18% if I were putting the equivalent amount of money into the normal GPP, which I don't think you can, because if you max the normal GPP, it's like 2,500. I said too many P's. That's not part of the video. Okay, so I just want to point out here's an example of overlay. So overlay is when there's not enough people joining a guaranteed satellite to a tournament. So this one is a quarter satellite and it's to a $20 competition. So what's a quarter times $20? 80 people. is what it would take to be par value. That's not even full. Full would have like 96 people or 90 people or something. So it's not even close to full. You're making a lot of money every time you enter one of these competitions, but sometimes you win $20. That's cool. I'm going to have a ticket this weekend. I also cut out of the screenshot all the ones I lost. So that's how that works. But I wanted to point out PK Nuge has been doing this great, and he did the math for us. So since I haven't done the math out for you guys about what overlay is, this is overlay. Like, they're doing it to fill these big competitions that are cool and fun for their high rollers, and otherwise they would just not fill them. And so, for instance, they're running the 333 NHL Monster over at DraftKings. They have 888 competitions a lot. I think there's some 333s in football as well, but they're always running fun little qualifiers that aren't filling. So you always have to set a timer, right? Because you don't know if they're going to fill or not until you're at lock, because they're going to roll them over, right? Like the apparent overlay 5 hours ahead of time does not matter. We're talking about overlay right at lock. You have alarms set. If you're trying to be a professional at this, you have a lot of alarms set, right? Your alarms are set right at lock, so you know what your values are. You already have your lineup set. For instance, like for Madden, for me, beginning of every day, every single Madden slate, think it through, make lineups, think it through, make lineups, think it through, make lineups. Have a timer set for every 2 hours so that I check to see what's the positive EV competitions and is it worth my while? Do I want, so if I here, for instance, so you do the calculation, 40%, that's pretty awesome for a standard expected value. I want to pull the trigger almost every time I see 40% because in life, right? I mean, like, I don't know when they're running the NHL Monster, but what kind of financial instruments do you get that give you 40% positive? Almost none. You don't get that anywhere. That's why this is so important. This is how to turn DraftKings from something that takes money from you, which when you play the GPPs, it will, because of the rake. On average, doesn't matter how smart you are, how good you are, you have a higher degree of difficulty if there's a rake versus if there's overlay, right? So if you can make it so that the majority of your bankroll is going into overlay competitions, you can move the overall boat up. And I mean, like, all the time. Like, so it's been a good year for me. I always like to pull up the screen because I won $100,000. And actually, this is in two. I won game 1 and game 2. So it was 2 really good weeks back to back. I still haven't quite lost the game 2 yet, but it's been a slog since then. But my general point is, regardless of what happens in the GPPs, which I expect to be negative, it's amazing that it's been positive this year. That's really cool. I'm not going to chase it. I recognize I've been lucky. I'm just going to keep on doing my strategy, because my strategy only works if the majority of my bankroll is behind these satellites. Now, can I show you why? Yes. If you go to satellites, it's good. It's all the time good. This includes none of my big wins. None of my big wins. And I have $12,000 of profit this year, 50% ROI. And it's always looked like this. That's not just this year. If I go lifetime, every single year that I've been doing this, I think, yeah, it's been working this. And it's been working at this amount. I haven't been putting as much money behind it because I'm a father. I didn't do this professionally until about here, I would say. About April of last year, I started being like, wow, I'm really turning a significant amount of money. This is like making me as much money as I'm making tutoring now. I have to take this seriously. And once I started taking it seriously, it kept working because it is math. This is math to do. If you play positive expected value things, you will win money. Now, obviously, you should still build lineups that, now, okay, so the type of competition matters for the type of lineups that you build. Because one thing that I like to talk about, and you may know me from, is the showdown lineups, right? And talking about how to get unique, blah, blah, blah. That is not the satellite strategy. You do not put those lineups into satellites unless they're very, like, so I will put my lineups that are like weird lineups in a 10-cent satellite, in a 25-cent satellite, where there's a lot of guys, and I got to beat a lot of guys, and I still got to be basically just first place, because that's what I'm doing for GPPs. But if you're doing one of these, like PK Nuge is doing, he's understanding the high dollar satellites, you are not quite playing them the same way. You don't need to take risks. It's you and 4 dudes, right? Like, it's you and 3 dudes. And this guy, I mean, like, these guys are all sharks. All of these guys are sharks. I've seen 2 of these 3 guys win like $100,000 plus this year, maybe this month. Kreider and R. Walker. So these guys are really, really sharp. It's not an accident you're in these competitions with them, but it's just 3 guys. You know, you got to beat 3 guys. So that's all completely different. Now it's NHL. I can't tell you really, like, if this is an actual NHL underlying, I don't know what it takes to win. But my point is, it takes less than it takes to win a GPP. So you're playing more of a cash lineup. You're playing less risky. You're not leaving money on the table in showdowns. Like, you know, the strategy you take for the event has to be the appropriate, optimal strategy for the event, right? So when you get to, like, tonight, I'm playing the 888. That's not the same competition. I am going to put those lineups into the $100,000 competition because I want to win 350, right? If I win a little. And there's no way that happens tonight. No way. But, you know, that's the kind of brain a person has. They want to absolutely have the maximum value from a single lineup if it were to work out. So, and here I am telling you in the video, 100% true, not the correct way to play. Like when you look at these two, upcoming contests, I've already entered the lineups, so I guess I shouldn't release this video until, I can't show you I don't know how to not show you the lineups that I might not change until the beginning of the actual set. Oh man, what a dumb touchdown in The Sims. But, okay, so, right, what was I gonna, so for the 888, it has I have to beat 1,200 people to win $250,000. Whereas in the 100K, what is it, 22,000 people I got to beat for $100,000? It's 22 times as hard. You have to get 22 times as unique. Now, I tell you, individual ownership won't matter on a slate like that because it's nine games, 15 people on each team. So that's 18 teams times 15 people, 270 people. So we have 270. Choose 8 different possible classic lineups. It is almost 1 to the 15. That is too many to care. I don't even know the word, right? Like trillion is 12. So it's almost 1,000 trillion. A quadrillion is, what is a quadrillion? Quadrillion? Is that 10 to the 15? Yeah, okay. So it's a quadrillion number of possible lineups. You are being dumb if you are trying to get different for the sake of getting different. You get different to win. You get different because you think you have a thing that's going to give you a little bit of edge nobody else has. You don't get different for the sake of getting different. That's a showdown thing. Because in a showdown, right, we don't have 270 choose 8. We have only choosing 6, and we have like, was it 2 rosters? Sometimes so we're talking NBA showdown, that's 30 choose 6. Different space. This is way less. This number is so different. The game of NBA Showdown is so different from NBA Classic. Do you see how different this number is? And this is just for a 9-game NBA slate. It's even bigger. It's like 10. It's like 10 quadrillion for a 16-game slate or whatever. Like the biggest possible NBA slate is outrageously. So don't play Classic and Showdown games the same. They're not the same game. It's a completely different game. When you have so few choices, like that's really close to. I mean, some of these big competitions, you get a 10th of that. We're going to span almost like a 10th. So assuming people bunch their lineups towards the best possible lineups, yeah, you're going to have to get different a little bit, or else you're going to be bunching around the same ones. That doesn't happen, right? That's not going to happen with 6 to the 14. There's so many different branches to go down. Like even in these big competitions, like my 888, there's no reason to consider individual ownership. There's no reason to fade chalk. You should play probably the optimal strategy, probably the one I guess you would play. I don't know, 6 out of 8 core guys that are the optimal, maybe 5 if you're unsure about the 6th or something, and you rotate 3x3s for the remaining number of guys. And that would be, you allow those 3 to kind of vary among shooting guards and guys who are a little bit less, sure to score points. But generally speaking, you could just play all chalk. No need to not play all chalk. If it's all chalk that you think is good chalk, and I mean, obviously chalk is also relative. I see some guys saying, oh, more than 10% owned, he was chalk. What are you talking about? Like a 15% owned guy can win you a slate, like depending on the slate. So absolute numbers don't matter. Relative numbers do matter. So that's where like you have to make a decision sometimes in a competition. Do I want to stay with the guy who's been pretty much optimal so far, or do I want to change it to some other guy? This is tonight's NBA slate. So how do I present this choice? Okay, so if this is the warm-up, like first video, the other thing is in a classic slate that has late swap involved, like NBA, like NFL has late swap, I think. MLB even has late swap, I believe. So most major sports have late swap. And most noobs, most chumps, most of you guys before you watch this video aren't late swapping unless something goes terribly wrong or whatever. You're not constantly thinking every 30 minutes about what is the optimal lineup. And as a result, you're doing it wrong. So the reason this is wrong is most easily seen, I think, with the Monty Hall problem. Although now that I remember, they don't on the Wikipedia talk about the infinite door answer. But the basic point is that on Let's Make a Deal, they have a game where there's a goat behind 2 doors and a car behind the 3rd door or whatever. And after the person chooses a door, they reveal a goat, and then they ask them if they want to change. And it's always tough to figure out what the right strategy is at first. So I'd encourage you, pause the video, think about it. What's the right strategy? Should you change the door or not? Because it's the same question. Should you late swap or not? And the answer is the same for the same reason. Yes, you should late swap. Yes, you should change doors. Because when you have more information, you can do better, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a goat or a car or $100,000. If you have more information, like last night, if I was so upset with myself, 11 minutes before the last game, I saw somebody tweeting about Chimizu Metu or something. And I'm like, why are we tweeting about this dude? He might not even play tonight. I find out I missed a new starter for Phoenix. I don't even remember what team he's on now. But you can't miss a starter like that. Like, that is a huge deal. A lot of people are going to miss that. But that is slate changing news, slate breaking news. If you get a guy on the last, like the very, 7 o'clock, 7:30 last, that's my time, Pacific time. So the 10 o'clock, 10:30 regular East Coast time game, if you get news about those guys, that's the most precious thing on any late swap slate, because fish will not be there, and you must late swap. You must be there. In this specific case, like in the Monty Hall problem, it's easy. It's 16%. It's really, really, really in your interest to change. And you can see it, right? Like, let's say, so the way to actually convince yourself of the Monty Hall problem and actually convince yourself of late swap is to imagine the information that you get is very strong. So let's say instead of 3 doors, which is the actual game show game, let's say you had 1,000 doors, right? And you pick a door and you think, okay, and there's only one car and there's 999 goats. You pick a door, all right, cool. Well, your odds are obviously 1 in 1,000. Then they show you 998 goats, not just one, but it's the same situation. It's all but one door of goats. Should you change to the one door that probably isn't a goat, right? Because I mean, they opened 998 other ones. Or should you stick? You should change it. You should change it, because now you got a 1 in 2 chance or whatever it is. You have increased your odds immeasurably now that it, like, the person opening the doors has revealed so much information. And so as the doors, you can imagine the windows, right? Like the 4 o'clock window is a door opening, and the 4:30 window is a door opening, and the 5 o'clock window is a door opening. And anyway, thank you also to Sheets for bringing this to my attention. It is the exact perfect analogy. So long as we get information, right? So the downside is, like, in real life, we don't know, like, the DFS gods aren't always revealing goats, right? Like, sometimes they're revealing a car and you're like, oh no, there was a car behind that door. So, right, that's kind of the problem with the exact analogy. Like, if you go past the start time and some information is revealed, and it's like, well, should have chosen that door, right? So it's not a perfect analogy, but the general point of, as you accrue information, you need to be late swapping. By the way, also, if you have made significant changes, like I like to do, like for instance, today, I made a bunch of changes to people's projections, value players and stuff, forks, etc. You can download player projections and then upload them in the late swap. So I've had trouble with that in the past and have been trying to kind of hand rebuild the late swap, but it's better to just kind of download your projections, run or enter your contests, and then run your late swap and then upload the same. So, like, for instance, download my projections. I have to enter my contests. But if I do that, you might be able to see them. That's okay. I don't care. This is an important thing, and you should be doing it every single slate. Lineups. So you go to your lineups, you go to edit, entries. Don't copy any of these. If I accidentally release this video before the slate, probably I will have pivoted off a number of things. I don't like them, but yeah. So you download your entries, you put them into whatever your current optimizer is. Obviously, I'm a SaberSim guy. They won me $100,000. It will take me a while to go away from that. Also, they've made 3 millionaires in the last 2 weeks, so it's not just me. It's clearly them. They're doing good stuff. I don't want to take more credit than I should, for they're clearly rocking it. Okay, hold on. I got to find the downloads. The thing I just downloaded at today at recently.com. Okay, come on, guys. Where's put them in chronological order and then show me the one that I just downloaded. I know this must be really engaging. Okay, that's it. DK entries. Okay, so put them here. And then we run the late swap. I'm only so swap them all. Don't look at that lineup. Then you upload and you upload from the CSV of the same place where I just was in downloads, and you upload the where's that file? The DK main, where you have all of the projections and stuff, and you save it, and then call it source Oracle input, aka that's like what I guessed, you know. So now I'm ready to late swap. So when it comes late swapping time, and you know, obviously a lot of this may change. I don't stay locked into whatever if I see their projections varying significantly, or if there's material changes. You must change. As I've just said, that is the most important thing in any late swap sport is late swapping. If you're not late swapping, you are losing to me. You are losing to other people who are late swapping. Like for instance, who was it? Shady Advice. So one of the first of the 3 millionaires from SaberSim recently, he won his million with a 2v2 swap that, as he told us all on Twitter, number one, Tambo worked it out. You can look at his podcast to find that one. But he said, yeah, that I double checked it, and that was the 2v2 that happened, but I didn't even like approve it. It was, or it's just what SaberSim did, or like not SaberSim. He said the process, it's automated, whatever. He's using SaberSim. Like a lot of us are using SaberSim, and the reason is their late swap is awesome, man. So like when you get here once, so the other thing you have to make sure to do is to change from SaberSim. There will be a new option once the slate starts to be live flagship MME. So you want to change the ownership to be the live ownership, and then yeah, then it'll just, as long as you haven't made anything you have changed, it will not change. But in the background, line movement or starters changing or whatever is changing in the background. So you can just come back here. Okay, so the first game locks at 4 o'clock. You come back here at 4:20. You click refresh. You click run. You get, I don't know what, so 6 lineups. I want 200 variant, 2000. Yeah, okay, that's 833 variants of each, if at all possible. I want to still be relatively constraining with my salary, but if there's a significant advantage, I want to know about it. If it goes, you know, a few extra $100, yeah, no thanks. On this slate, I don't know. Yeah, you can look at them. That's fine. But that'll be my rules, and then I want to also make sure I have all the rules that I just put here. AD foul trouble. Mitchell Robinson includes Sims, and anyway, so I have to put back all the rules that I otherwise. So that's the other thing that's kind of annoying here to remember. Miles foul trouble, Jalen Smith in. Hurdle foul trouble with Achua in. Capella foul trouble. I don't want it not on this slate. Okay, so anyway, late swap. That was the general point of this part of the video. I'm gonna leave it pretty soon. And satellite strategy works, and like it works in a way that like you can count on. So this kind of money is money in the bank, money and that's why I've been so excited. Like this 888 night, I've never tried these big satellites before, but they're just so much money on the table. Like I lost $2,500 ticket last week, don't care at all, because I won it for $30. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was around there. And who cares, right? $30. I mean, whatever. You know, so the expected value, people are not filling these 1 and 2 like 2 max tournaments that are like $37, because that's a crazy amount to pay for a satellite. But I mean, as a result of them not filling, I'm getting like expected values of 60% on $37 every night, and that's dope, man. That's incredible expected value. That I was having trouble like nickel and diming all these like overlays in the Sims and having that add up to enough to keep the ship average going positive, as you can see when you go outside of satellites, right? Clearing the filter after my big win has not been great. Obviously, this is lifetime. Before I started playing professionally, I was frittering away a little bit of money every year, which is probably what you're doing if you're not paying attention to what you're doing and just gambling a little bit on the way home. You're giving it to the people who are not doing that. And since I became a person who is not doing that, it's been a good couple of years. So, but my general point was, oh yeah, if you go back to the year, so you get a better view of what happened after the peak, it's just a bunch of meh, right? Like a little bit of down. I didn't have a great WNBA, but since NBA started, flat and up a little, flat a little, who cares? So, you know, like that's what it's all about, being able to handle the variance on a night-to-night basis, so until you get to the level change. Like I looked at the first time I knew I was doing well enough to start pouring money in this was when I saw a video like this that the stochastic guy did, Alex Baker. So I love that guy. I know that he's won millions and millions of dollars, and he just shows, you know, anybody who's just showing you their ROI graph with no like filters or whatever, that's a dude to be trusted. Doesn't matter how it looks, doesn't matter if it's big T's, doesn't matter who it is. That's a person who's being honest with you about their losses. And when someone's being honest with you about their losses, that's someone you can trust and listen to and welcome onto your council of dudes. Go forward a few videos to see more about your council of dudes. That's how you receive my wisdom. Because don't be DMing me about specific 2x2s and stuff. Like I'll answer, but that's your choice at the end of the day. And like I'm just there to be kind of a council member, and you're like the supreme leader of your council. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy to advise, but you have to kind of steer the ship. You have your own gut that has to have a role, all that stuff. But what was my point here? My point was that besides knowing your cumulative profit and numbers like that, the other one of these graphs that's like a very basic graph, and you need to be checking to know if it's a sport that you're going to make money in before you make the money, right? Because there's a couple of these wobbles where I make $10,000 before I make the 100, right? I won that twice. Yeah. I won the 4-point play one time. That's where I live. That's what I'm trying to win every night. And then I won almost 10K in football on the weekend. Yeah, but a couple weeks before I won my 100. So anyway, but my points here kind of, number one, you can't play in your spike days. Number two, you should look at this in terms of cumulative graphs. So if we're looking by finish position, and I want to make it just by sport, or no, right. So finish position hashed by sport, because I want to show you a sport I'm good at, right? So a sport that I know I'm good at, general sport, basketball. I kick butt at basketball. So this will be what it looks like when you're kicking butt, right? When you're kicking butt, you're not losing. Number one, you should also add type, GPP, or whatever. But everything I play is a GPP. It's not going to change this graph almost at all. Maybe satellites would be on there. So anyway, but my point is, you should have this kind of tilt to it. You're not throwing crap lineups out there. And you should have a big bucket. You should be outperforming in the top 10%. And then you should zoom in a little bit depending on the amount of data you have. For me, I think it's this is a reasonable, like there's 212 entries. That's more than 100. That passes the random independent random variable test. And look at all this. All the way up to the 15th percentile, I'm outperforming average, which is this line. And so I don't think it's chance. I think I'm beating the crap out of y'all, and I think I'm going to keep doing it every single night because I know more about the NBA, because my game is tight, and because I'm ready. And because I'm doing this analysis, right? Like I was doing this analysis before I won the money. Before I won the money, I knew for sure that top 1% here, right? In the top 1%, I'm outperforming almost 3x. So just a matter of time, guys. I mean, like I've only hit the very top once, but I've been in that top 0.1% 39 times. It's not an accident. I'm filling it up. I'm filling up the cup. It looks like more of the accidents are these ones where I'm not filling up the cup in these 0.1% buckets, right? Now, granted, I should say that's only 39 entries. We're not quite passing the independent random variable benchmark or whatever, but this isn't exactly a survey or whatever. I'm just applying the standard statistics thing, which tell me my 0.5% buckets are where I leave my confidence behind. But nonetheless, even in the 0.5 buckets, looking pretty good, right? So look at your cumulative distributions, look at them by sport. Let me show you a sport that I don't put money behind because I am garbage at it. I am bad at the NHL. That's what it looks like, right? I mean, like, yep, looks like he's pretty bad at the NHL, right? Well, it doesn't matter what the bucket size is. I'm still playing it. My brother and I like to bond over NHL, but like, I'm not good at the NHL. I know I'm not good at the NHL gambling. I still using SaberSim, but SaberSim can't do it all, guys. Like, but let's look over at NFL. I think I'm a little better at NFL. Yeah, a little better at NFL, right? So just go sport by sport, figure out what you're good at, what you should be doing. This year didn't look good in MLB, right? Like, so if I look at MLB, I'm not going to see what I want to see. But I do see strong outperformance in that top 5%. So what if I zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, there's a reason I'm making the MLB videos, guys. Even though it didn't pan out, I'm very confident I'm outperforming right. And then I go to the 0.1% buckets, and you can see, look at that. That's unlucky. Number one, there's some data error. I don't know what that is. But number two, like the top 0.1%, I'm underperforming slightly, but every other bucket, almost to the 2.6, I'm outperforming. So I think I just got unlucky in MLB this year. And let's check out MMA since I'm just checking things out. I feel good at MMA, but I'm not sure. I haven't had a big win, so I suspect it will be looking bad. But I don't know. I just feel like my process is pretty tight. Let's pop these into a reasonable bucket size. Yeah. So you can see the top 1% really coming in there. Yeah. And I mean, did we have enough? We barely have enough to say, but this isn't quite what you want to see. But also, sports like MMA are going to have a lot more variance on top and bottom, right? Because it doesn't really matter as much. It's not like with basketball where if you made a bad lineup, you made a bad lineup. In the MMA, like you can make a good lineup, guy gets knocked out, it looked bad. So, yeah, same thing with NHL to an extent. But I'm not trying to excuse these. If you're making excuses, recognize you're making excuses and downgrade the amount of your allocation that's going to that sport. If you're winning money, win some more money. Like up your allocation towards that sport. By the way, so allocation, bankroll, etc. How much money do you have that you're comfortable losing to gambling this month, this year, whatever it is? That's your allocation. Or that's your bankroll. Your allocation is 1% to 2% of that, which you're putting down on any slate. It's important that varies, right? 1% if you're uncomfortable with the slate, 2% if you're comfortable, right? So you're pouring on the gas when you're hot, when you're feeling good about it. You're letting your own confidence determine the size of your bet. That's what you should do. Don't play 150 every night, guys. There's some of you out there doing stuff compulsively. I do the 20 max every night, generally. Recently, I've been doing the 6, right? Because I think I'm not convinced. So also, don't put the same amount behind every lineup because not every lineup is worth the same. Like you're going to have 4, 5, 6, 10 lineups, whatever it is that you like better. Put those in high stakes. Put more money behind those, and then you're going to have one so that you don't. Whatever high stakes is to you, by the way, right? Like I mean, high stakes. There's no definition of that. So yeah, that's kind of like bankroll allocation and how to choose where to go. I'm just putting play money behind NHL. MMA, on the other hand, I feel pretty tight. Like I feel like my overall my what's it called process is pretty tight in terms of like the top 1%. I don't think this is an accident. I don't think it's an accident that my top 1% is doubling the expected value. Because number one, we got 30 entries, so still I recognize we got to get a little bit more data behind us, but that's all that's holding us back. I feel pretty confident that the way that I'm doing the MMA is going to lead to more top 1% finishes. So anyway, this is what you should be doing. You don't hide from numbers. You should know, when you're having a bad time, how bad it is, like, and why it's being bad, right? Like, what is this month? Yeah, not good so far. Last week? Okay, I was like, what time frame is this? This is no reasonable time frame at all. I'll go back to year for now, but I mean, month is bad, so maybe I'll show you that. Who cares? Yeah, month had been going bad. I think this is only through the 4th. Yeah, I haven't uploaded the last week or so. But I keep on trying to win those sims, and it hasn't been working this month so far. But they're positive expected value, so who cares, man? Expected value is a real thing. You can feel that expected value win. And I mean, like, it's easy once you've been doing it for a year and a half. And like the self-similarness of this particular graph for satellites, if you take nothing else away from this video, number one, look at this month, right? It's been down. It's not going to work all the time. But if you zoom out into a window with enough data, this is only 439 entries, right? So that's not a significant sample. We go to the year and boom, 50,000 of these entries, and you're back to the self-similar pattern of 53% ROI. And then you go to lifetime, and it's the same almost to 2 significant digits because you're doubling the number of entries. Number one, thank you to RotoTracker. If you're doing this professionally, you need to have RotoTracker. You need to have Picket. You need to have all of the data analysis tools to enable you to make your process better. But yeah, that's more or less all I got to say. I didn't think I would have so much to say without a slate to talk about. But yeah, this is an incredible tool for you to make money. Now, granted, don't. Yeah, all right. The point I wanted to leave you with, because today is probably going to be an infamous day for me. All but one of my spike days have not worked out. The spike days are the days you collect the tickets for, right? So when I go back to the tickets here, the ticket screen, the spike days are today because I have all those 8888 tickets that are locked, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 8888 tickets. So that's an incredible amount of money. Then I got 16 already for the holiday basketball, but that's only $500 or something. I'm gonna have like probably 40 of those by the time it starts next in Christmas Day. Boxing Day Classics, Spike Day, America's Race, just because they're giving them away sometimes, So these are the spike days. What I mean by it is I'm going to have way more money on those events than I otherwise would have, just because I've been accruing positive expected value tickets. However, they are going to underwhelm you, right? Because on the spike day, you're playing a GPP. So today I expect to lose 11% of my money. And really, I know it's tough to beat these good guys, right? I expect to kind of not get any of this back. It's definitely in the range of outcomes that I plunk down my 5,000 today, whatever, and get none of it back. And if you feel uncomfortable with that, you're playing with too much money. That's the other thing. Responsible gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, all that plug, whatever. But seriously, it's going to hold you back as a gambler if you're playing with money you can't afford to lose. So that's the main reason I would say. Like, you need to be able to lose the money you're putting out there, or you're not going to be able to say Max Strus for all the cash, whatever dumb play it is, that is the play that wins all the cash. You have to be able to do the dumb thing that gives you the leverage. And you can't do the dumb thing that gives you the leverage if you're playing with money you can't afford to lose. So that's why I enjoyed the satellite strategy. But that is why it's important on the big days, even when I'm feeling buoyant and happy that I've won all these tickets at positive expected value, to remember that it's more than likely somebody's got to win that money. Doesn't have to be us, right? Like these days, all but one of them have sucked. All but one of them have sucked. I have never made my money back on one of these spike days, except that one time, right? I mean, like, and that's why, except that one time, right? One time, guys. I mean, that's the thing. If you're playing right, you're just accruing the one times. That's the point I was trying to make about Alex Baker showing me this chart. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Like everything that happened besides him winning the $1 million essentially didn't matter to his overall lifetime accrual of money, which is about $7 million or whatever the number of millions was. And it's the same for me. As long as you're not playing dumb, you're essentially going to win whatever your big spike day wins are. So just be ready. Number one, be ready to lose all 19 out of 20 times, and be ready when you win that one time out of 20 to be responsible. Do not chase that. Do not be like, oh, I won $100,000 next day. I'm obviously getting down 2,000, 3,000, whatever. If that wasn't your allocation beforehand, you're not changing your allocation. Chasing wins is just like chasing losses. That is problem gambling behavior, and it's just bad use of your bankroll. If you're not using the reason it's 1 to 2% is to allow yourself to handle variance. Like, I don't control the future. I got lucky as heck that Haywood Highsmith, praise be, hit all those threes and decided to continue smashing and hitting threes in garbage time when it didn't matter anymore. I mean, it's game one of the finals, so it still wasn't really garbage time, but whatever. I got really lucky. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way around that. Like, you are putting yourself in a position when you get lucky, you get it all. That's what you're trying to do. It's not the point that like you're going to be getting lucky all the time. That's what I'm trying to get at. You're still getting lucky at about the standard rate a guy gets lucky. You're just making it so that in the meantime, you're not losing your shirt, right? Like, don't just keep your overhead low, keep your allocation responsible, and you're just waiting on the spike day. You're just waiting on that day you win the million and win the 100,000, whatever it is that comes through for you. So yeah, good luck, guys. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough. Whether it's the 19 spike days that don't work or the one spike day that does, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us.